All right, looks like we got everybody. So I need one more test. Somebody out there, Amanda, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to start off. This is the City of Clear Lake Shore City Council regular meeting, April 7th, 2020, starting at 6:33 via the video teleconferencing over the internet. We do have a full quorum in attendance, plus Adri Ritchie's in online, Johnny Boltinghouse, Kevin Harrell, Brent Spear, and Chief Keel, and Christy Strop as our city secretary. At this time, I would like anybody from the public to identify themselves and to turn on their mic and give us their address and phone number, and name. And I have a raised phone, I gotta admit, and Barbara. Okay, so Barbara, can you identify yourself, please? Barbara Robin. Okay, Johnny Boltinghouse, can you identify yourself, please? Johnny Boltinghouse.
He was talking a minute ago, but I don't think we could hear him.
No, we couldn't.
Sorry, I was muted.
There you go.
I was just trying to watch, not partake, but I can.
All right, looks like Barbara Robin was trying to share something. Please do not share. All right, Johnny Boltinghouse is online. All right. We still have one iPhone that has not been identified. I have no one else hanging out in the waiting room. Raised iPhone, person with raised iPhone, can you identify yourself, please? There's somebody online with raised iPhone. Need you to identify yourself.
I'm gonna guess that's Ray Freeman. I can find out.
Ray Freeman.
I'll check.
Yeah, he just sent a message. He's trying to listen, but he doesn't have any audio.
Yeah, it's Ray Freeman, right, Mark?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Does anybody know the other iPhone?
Nope.
All right. Well, I don't think we're at risk right now, so so the meeting's been called to order. So this is a first for us, so I'm gonna try to keep it the best order I can and adhere to our agenda. We have to identify anybody that's out there in the public, and we have to give them time to speak before each agenda item. This is a first for Clear Lake Shores for a city council meeting, so kudos to everybody that's making this work. Job well done. First, we'll have a pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the Texas flag, so stand by. I'm going to try to share. This is all new for me.
By standing.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thought that was pretty cool. Next is the Texas flag.
honor the Texas flag, and pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, and indivisible.
So we should probably just stop right there because I was able to make that work. So we should just end the meeting. All right. So item number 3, public hearing. 922 Elm Road, junk vehicle, boat, Sportcraft, white. R number TX7982EA. Sorry, I gotta mute you, everybody. All right. EA, abstract 18M, Muldoon, SUR lots 876 and 877 Clear Lake Shores. An inspection of the above referenced property found violations of Clear Lake Shores Ordinance, Chapter 78, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 6, Junked Vehicles, Section 78167, Junked Vehicles as public nuisance. We open this for public hearing at this time. Anybody would like to speak on behalf of this as part of the public hearing, please do so by stating your name and your address. Having none, the public hearing is closed. Gavel. All right, next is item number 4, reports from council. Councilman Mark Thompson.
I have nothing to report at this time.
Thank you, Mark. Councilwoman Christy Lyons.
I have no report at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Councilwoman Angie Terrell. Unmute.
I have no report at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. Councilwoman Jan Bailey. Unmute. Nope, not unmuted. Try it now. Not hearing you, Jan. Give me a big O if you're okay. No report. You're okay? All right. See if you can get a microphone working. All right, and Councilwoman Amanda Fenwick.
So I do have a couple things. Can you guys hear me okay? So first of all, on Monday afternoon, Monday morning, I participated in an elected officials conference call with members of the GLO regarding Hurricane Harvey recovery efforts around the state. And I have notes from that meeting if anybody is interested in that. I know that there's a couple projects happening in the city. I think Nancy Force's house is one of them that's part of the Rebuild Texas program. So if anybody has any questions or wants any notes on that, I'm happy to forward them to you. And then the other thing is the Galveston County Food Bank is in desperate need of monetary donations. So if you can, encourage you to make a small donation. You can go straight to their website, or I've posted it on my social media sites. But they need some help, especially now they have obviously increased numbers and increased need in the county. So if anybody can help out with a small monetary donation to the food bank, that would be greatly appreciated. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Amanda. All right, so just to let everybody know, we do have our, in unprecedented times right now. I know, but in talking with this whole telecommunication while we're doing it, we have the COVID-19 going on in our country and throughout the world. We do have our first case reported today. I'm gonna mute everybody again. And so with that, there is a release that's coming out from Adri that's from the city about the one resident that's tested positive. We don't have any details from the county on that. They do have details, what they need to have for their first responders. all we should, I mean, from my standpoint, praying for their family and make sure that they recover and survive through this. And we also need to really work on adhering to our ordinance that we put out there, the order that we all put out there of keeping less than groups of 10 or 10 or less, and then maintain the 6 foot social distancing. And it's just so important that to try to flatten the curve. And I let council know what, Chief Keel put out to their PD, and I'm sure he'll discuss more about that. But about coming up on groups, we have a great privilege around here on the island, a lot of exercise, which is great. We also need to go out and get our sun, and people are riding on their golf carts, and I don't want to stop that. I'm not talking on behalf of council, but the groupings of everybody gathering together and being together for 30 minutes or an hour, all those things that, like, if you go into Galveston, anywhere else in Galveston, that's totally prohibited. And so I'm following in line with those things, and I'm not going to have a false where we're not following that, and then we'll end up starting having a bunch of cases coming into Clear Lake Shore. So we really need to adhere to that, and not having all the people grouped together. They need to go and disperse and move on. So this is a lot to move through right now. Our police department has been a precocious position monitoring and dispersing all the groups and gatherings more than 10. And I really thank them for everything that they've done. And they're working day in and day out, and they have processes in place that they're taking care of themselves, but they're out there on the front line along with the medical professionals, the nurses, the doctors, and all that stuff. So I give my heart and I thank all of them for doing that for us and allowing us to be able to stay home. TK had an awesome video that he put out there today. Kudos to Adri putting that together, but that was an awesome video, and I hope the community is able to watch that. Has a lot of positive takeaways in order to adhere to the requirements that we're going through right now. So on a lighter side of things, a lot of the people are experiencing this is all new to them. It's ever changing. It's dynamic. We get different calls each day, and we're learning each day. So we don't know all the answers, and we're trying to work with everybody and all the experts and rolling things out. But one of the things that I've seen is, we've got a lot of seniors that are graduating from high school. So I would like to, I'll probably be looking forward to hopefully recognizing them in a future city council meeting, because they're losing so much of those recognitions that you typically get at the end of the year. And I like our community to recognize them also. All right. And then Easter this weekend. It's a huge event, and we're not able to do our Sunday services down at Depot Park, but I believe the Civic Club is working on doing the jump to Jarbo, which will be Sunday. No. Saturday. And they're going to be giving out little goodies and stuff. And then we also have a surprise that we've been working with KEMA and the fire department, and we're going to have Saturday morning with a bunny on the fire truck going through the city, and then the police department is going to be escorting the fire truck through the streets so the children can be out in the driveways and gathering on the waterfronts and seeing not gathering, on the waterfronts. And the Civic Club's Easter Bunny will be down at Jarbo from 2 to 4 handing out the Easter boxes to the children on the island. And the bunny will also be passing it to the golf cart, so no hands will be touching it, and the people preparing the handouts is taking all the necessary precautions into place. So kudos to the Civic Club for putting that together, and hopefully you got all that, Christy.
Great. Can I ask you a question, or can I ask it and you can tell me if we need to revisit it later? I don't know when to ask this.
Sure.
So with the first case on the island, I know that we have essential workers in City Hall that are coming in on rotating schedules. Fran explained that to us. I want to protect all of us, but our PD is out there, and I don't want any of them sick, because, what happens when one of them goes down and we start quarantining our entire PD? Is now the time to keep everybody out of City Hall? Or, I want to protect them, and I don't know how to do that more. I want to protect them more.
Well, I believe Chief Keel can talk on this.
Okay.
Best. And I think we can wait till his report. I do know that they have the areas separated, and they have a minimum traffic from the city employees in there, and it's closed to foot traffic, and
Okay.
they're disinfecting 3 times a day.
Okay.
The police have their own procedures that they put into place for cleaning their, sanitizing their car. And wait, hold on. I had to admit Jan back in from the waiting room. And so they're taking care of their cars, and yes, that's the most important thing, is taking care of the police officers. And I believe Chief Keel has that well under control.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, that completes item number 4. Going on to staff reports, moving right on to Chief Keel, Police Department.
All right, am I unmuted?
I hear you.
Okay. First and foremost, the video was all Adri. All I did was stand there, and she made me look smart. It's all, she's got some magic in that camera. It's something I didn't memorize anything. I had to look at all my cards, and somehow it made it look like I knew what I was talking about. Anyway, so yeah, we have some procedures before I get to the report. We have some procedures in place for sanitizing our workstations inside the building, our patrol cars that are outside the building. And number one, we've all but shut down making traffic stops or officer initiated contacts unless we get called somewhere, and I'll go into some of those instances in a moment. But there's also today we visited with Kemah Fire Department, who has a UVC light that they've been sanitizing their vehicles with. And you put these lights inside the car, and it disinfects, according to what the fire department is telling us. So we took a couple of cars over, got that done. If that is in fact the case, I'm going to see about how much those cost. Pay for myself. It doesn't matter if that works. Then I'd like to try to see if that's going to be an option. As far as the other employees, I think your question, Councilwoman Terrell, was the rest of the building. Now that is it's being sanitized 2 or 3 times a day. I know Odie's been in and out here with the Clorox wipes. I don't know, other than leaving them at home, what else we could do. I don't know. I can't get into that part of the city government. I don't know. I know that we have to be here. We're going to be here. And beyond that, that's probably a question for the mayor or our city administrator, Brent. So what we're doing as far as call responses, we did have an event over on Narcissus last night that was not sanctioned. You'll probably get 50 different opinions on what it should be done, or can that be done, or is there any legality in us breaking that up? Well, under the disaster declaration, GA 014, and the extension of our own declaration, yes, we can break it up. And the mayor corrected me, it's 10 or less is allowed. 11 or more is not allowed. However, that is a discretionary, arbitrary, magical number that the CDC and the World Health Organization came up with. It doesn't mean that 9 are safe, or if it's 8 people, it's safe. It just means limit your group contacts to under 10 for the sake of the law. It doesn't mean that slows down the virus or any magical reason that the people in that group wouldn't get sick. Also, just like the 6-foot rule, that is a magical, arbitrary number that's probably been debunked At least one medical expert says that those infectious droplets can travel 27 feet. That's why it's a good idea to have a greater distance if it's possible. And my officers are doing that. They're staying away from people. We'll talk to you from the car. We'll talk to you on the PA. If we have to get out and talk to someone, we'll keep a distance, but greater than normal, 10 feet or so. That's what we're doing on our end to try and stay well and effective and available. I don't know with what we know now and what we're seeing from the CDC and all of the experts, that may or may not be enough. And I think this coming week has been told to us that this is the apex. This is the bad week to stay away from people. Just don't go out if you don't have to. They're saying even the grocery store, even your doctor's office, even getting prescriptions filled. If you don't have to go, then don't go. Just stay home. Some people don't like that. Some people don't like their freedom restricted, and we don't like to have to restrict freedom. Look, we all want a great big party when this is over with. We all would like to have, some kind of celebration that we made it and we're past it. We canceled Jamming on the Jarbo. We don't have a lot of things that we normally would have because of this. It's not prudent right now to start having a party on Narcissus that's, for lack of a better term, not sanctioned, and we don't take any action. So we had to break that up last night. It went very well. We did it like we discussed earlier. We met with the group there, and over the PA, we instructed the people that didn't live there that they had to disperse. So I don't know. I didn't get any feedback from them. I'm sure that there were some people that were unhappy or disgruntled about it, but that's what the disaster declaration covers. Our enforcement actions are to give them a warning, issue a citation. The citation is a $1,000 fine. And then the third repeat response to a location for the same reason, we will contact the district attorney's office and we'll file charges, fill out an affidavit for an arrest warrant, and that person will be arrested at a later date. And that way we don't have to physically contact anyone. We don't have to, really don't have anywhere to put them. I know the county is putting people in jail, but we really don't have anywhere to take them unless we take them straight down to the county jail. So all that's in place. That's what we're doing. Moving to our numbers for this month. I'm showing that we have 124 traffic contacts, and I'll direct your recall back to earlier in the month. We started 2 officers at the end of February, beginning of March. They were in training. They had a lot of activity before the jails shut down, before all this really blew up. So we had a lot of traffic contacts, but we only had 66 traffic citations. That number is well below what it normally is. We had 1 DWI arrest and we had 5 narcotics related arrests. All arrests combined together, we had 23. That includes warrants that were served. And all this took place in the first 5 or 6 days of the month of March. So that's why those numbers are where they're at. We handled 1 assault, 1 theft. We assisted a different agency 4 different times. We did 49 residential checks, 960 business checks, and we were involved in 6 welfare checks. And I don't have details on those. The business checks have gone down. Normally our business checks, we actually go up and check on things. We may make contact with the clerk, or we may walk through the building unless it's at night. And then we've curtailed those down probably by 600. And the rest are just as we drive by and check the building, make sure that the glass is intact and make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. So those are the numbers as far as what we've actually done for the month as far as stats go. What we've also done is we've done a couple of videos. Mine was not the best one, I don't think. I think it was John Leggio and Kayla Sawyer did one. I hope y'all saw it. Did y'all see it? So that was a really good video. It shows that we're on top of things, and we have a plan in place, and we're doing the best that we can. We're begging citizens to get on board with that. Some go a little quieter than others, and some of them don't want to be infringed upon. So we'll deal with that. We'll be here 24/7. This is going to go as smoothly as we make it go. And I think that if we have a united voice and a united message and a united front that we put in place, and people understand this is the line, this is where the line is, we're going to let you push all the way up against it, and then when you cross it, we're going to have to take some kind of action. I think we'll get it all taken care of. So wish us luck, and pray for us.
Chief, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you, and again, I love the United Front, and I want to be with you, so I want to understand this. Today at Aspens, there may have been a incident that residents were frustrated because they were limited on the time that they could wait in line for their food. If you could educate us on what our United Front is on that, please. Okay,
so City Administrator Spears has more information on what took place at Aspens. I think it was a perfect storm today. I was sitting down the street, not monitoring anyone at Aspens. I was I'm embarrassed to tell you, I was eating a sandwich and reading emails. And I sat there about 25 minutes or so. City Administrator drove up, was checking a sidewalk, made contact with some people that had been there about 25 minutes or so. He mentioned that they needed to be gone. They're not allowed to congregate there. They had placed an order. I'm assuming they had placed an order at some point while they were there. I don't know when they did or what they did. So the gentleman that was involved, coincidentally, is the guy who had the party on Narcissus, or not the party, the music that was being played where the people were gathering. So he went home and posted something on a social media site. I don't know. I don't have that social media. So the rule is that the business can be open for curbside deliveries. And I don't think there's an actual time limit. I think a reasonable amount of time to get your food or your order to be delivered. And that may vary. It may vary based on how much they ordered or how backed up they are on order. I don't know. I wasn't monitoring anyone, so I didn't really pay that much attention to what was going on. I can tell you that I know when I got there, and I know what time this took place because I saw the conversation they were having. I won't speak for City Administrator Spears. I mean, he knows what he said. I think it was misrepresented on this post, what was actually said. And I'll let him talk about that. But the rule is you can't congregate. You can't run a tab on alcohol while you're waiting on this order to be delivered for 25 or 30 minutes. The stay-at-home order and the directive to close restaurants except the curbside and delivery, and allow the sales of alcohol to be delivered or taken with them is all part of that order, that disaster declaration. And I'm not saying anybody's trying to push their way around it or play a semantics game to get their way around that. I don't know. I know that today was just misrepresented. I wasn't monitoring anyone. And I don't think that Mr. Spears was incorrect in maybe addressing who might be standing there. I think he was trying to give them the information. I don't know I can't speak about the conversation. I was too far away, and my eyesight's not that great either. So maybe he could jump in and help out with that.
Thanks, Chief. I appreciate it. Just trying,
Sure.
again, I'm with you and you have all of our support and I want to be united. So I just need to know.
Yes, absolutely. And that's really all I have, unless there's any more questions about what's going on.
The rest of council, any statements or questions? So TK, our backyard backs up to Narcissus, and we were out back, and I just say that I know we worked together on yesterday on our meeting and the orders that you put together, guidelines for your troops. I think it was spot on. It was something that we were needing to define to help them understand where those gray lines or where the black lines are and how far they could go.
Yes, sir.
And we discussed it early on and said, what are we going to do if this happens or that happens? And your police force drove through, didn't start anything or anything like that, and it was fine. I went to the backyard. You can easily see there were 6 or 7 golf carts. We stayed at our yard. Great music. We had one golf cart that stopped in our back of our yard that talked to us, maintaining our distance and stuff. But then you could see that people were starting to congregate. And I think your police force came through again and still didn't do anything. It was like 5 or 10 minutes. I think they were monitoring. And then they went another 5 minutes, and then they went through, and I think it got to the point where there was 4 or 5 golf carts in the driveway. There was 4 or 5 golf carts and across the street. People were, they were observing the 6-foot distance, but it was kind of close. And I went down there, I didn't see it, but obviously your police force is right there on top of it. And it was very polite. They just, I can hear it over the PA. Please disperse. Y'all need to please disperse. And they just waited, and people started yelling a little bit, why, whatever.
Yeah.
And then eventually they said, okay, we okay, fine, we're leaving. And they left. And then people started just coming by and listening for 5 minutes and then left, which I thought was spot on. So I'd say kudos to your police force on the way that they carried that out. And it's exactly what we talked about. We have people hanging out at sunset. They do it all the time during the year, but during this order, if you read it per the letter of the law, that is not allowed. You're not supposed to have people even come into your house unless it's family or something like that, and you're taking care of because it's essential family. Today, I took a golf cart ride, and I saw 4 or 5 golf carts down there near the boat ramps. It's the same thing. Now, I'm not stopping them, and it's very hard for your police force to do it. And I believe I speak on behalf of council, but we all really appreciate everything that you and your police force are doing, and it's a very hard thing to enforce that. But they do need to break up. We do have our first case here. It's not to say that everybody talks to each other, but we do need to adhere to the stay at home and not have these big gatherings. There's been question about, hey, can I have 10 people on this pier and 10 people on that pier? And I'm like, that to me is a gathering. So,
yes. And it's also, it's a gathering in our opinion as well. Look, like I said, we all want to have a great big time, especially when this is over. What a reason to celebrate. I want us all to be here for that, right? So we may have to be the bad guy. And sometimes, having the moral courage and the social courage to make those decisions and make those statements and to make people go away, that's what you hired me for. That's what we're going to do. We're going to give them some clear instructions. We're going to tell them where the boundaries are. And when our sheep get out of the boundaries, we're going to have to push them back in. So that's kind of where we're at. We want everybody to maintain their safe distances, stay home. Give us a week. This is going to look different in a week. It may last a little longer, and it's going to take longer for the economy to recover, but this is going to look different in a week. We may explode with COVID cases on our island, especially if we're not following the rules. I promise you, if I get it, it's going to be here, because when I go home, I ain't leaving. I'll stay right there. That's all we're asking people to do. If they'll do that, we'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. I went to work to NASA, but we're accepted essential work for the mission of space, and we've canceled many tests, and so the same thing goes there. And I know a ton of the council people and everything that you have accepted work, and then plus you have to go to the store and buy groceries and stuff like that. So, the orders come from the state, which have been approved by the Galveston County, which us as a city underneath the county are tied to. So we have to follow the county law at the end of the day.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Do you have anything else? Okay.
Chief,
Yes.
I just want to say thank you. I should have said this earlier, and I'm sorry I kind of got booted and came back. I know that this is a huge learning curve because there's so many unknowns and so many things that are going to catch your officers off guard. I just want to say thank y'all to the staff, specifically city staff and the police department, because we're all learning about this, and the unknown is pretty scary, but I do appreciate you, and I know we all do.
Yes,
Thank you.
I appreciate you saying that. This is another event. We all did Harvey. We all did Ike. We learned a lot of things, but this is not that. This is a different.
That's right.
It's a whole different thing, and we're going to get through this. I promise. With the staff I have and the professionals that we represent, it's different, and we're learning, and we'll try something, and it may not work, and we're going to move to something else, and it's going to. At the end of this, we're all going to look like geniuses. That's the outcome. So stick with us. It's gonna be okay. Thank you.
Thank you, TK. I've just accepted somebody in from the waiting room named Benjamin's iPhone. I need that phone identified with your name and address, please. Again, I asked the person with Benjamin's iPhone to identify themselves, or I will remove you from the chat. One last time, Benjamin's iPhone comment. All right, being removed. All right, thank you. Let's see. Next is building official Kevin Harrell, please. You have to unmute.
Everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Mayor and council, good to talk to you guys. Quick question before I give my report to TK about social distancing. When I'm out there doing inspections, typically there are 4 to 6 people in that house at one point in time. I do try and maintain the 6-foot distancing, but would you make any recommendations on how I would deal with contractors inside the house?
Yes, actually, I have a plan in place for that as well.
Okay.
So what other contacts I have are doing, City of Houston, City of Pasadena, they require when that building inspector goes in that the contractors leave the building 1 hour prior to the contractor and inspector entering the building. So that way you only have 2 people
Okay.
in the building. So all of the workers have to leave for 1 hour. And I don't know why they came up with an hour. That's a magical number. That's we seem to be able to sprinkle magical numbers around fairly easily. But what the City of Houston does is they require all personnel to leave the building that's being inspected for 1 hour. The inspector and the contractor go in. That may be a subcontractor or a general contractor, but whoever you're issuing the permits or the inspection to can go one person with you, and they also have to maintain. This is a Houston rule. They have to maintain 6 foot as well. You don't have to be standing there side by side to do your inspection. You can point out the deficiencies or whatever it is you're looking at, and then move on to the next room or whatever you're doing.
Kevin, do you have PPE to wear when you're, if we go by this recommendation of the chief and there's only one other person, but do you have PPE to wear? A face covering and
Actually, I'm sorry, Amanda. Actually, no, I do not have a mask. I do have something here at the house I can bring to work and wear that will protect my face.
Yeah, I would suggest that as well.
Yeah, we can get you a
If not,
mask.
we need to get him something.
We
Yeah.
have stuff. We have stuff he can use.
Yeah.
Well, with our first case on the island, I'm definitely going to wear one from now.
And so my other question then is, how are we relying on our contractors to test their own people, or to report, or to ensure, for lack of a better word, that their people are taking the right precautions?
That's the private industry's responsibility.
Okay, just making sure. That's how it is at my place of work as well. With our construction folks, we rely on them, but I just want to make sure that's the same concept.
Right, and on top of that, if they have to do work within 6 feet of each other, per the CDC, one of the two people should be wearing a mask.
PPE. Yep.
All
Okay.
those are recommendations.
Right.
I will make recommendations to the contractors and to their subs so that they protect themselves.
Okay.
Okay, for my report, since our last meeting, I've issued 15 permits. We've got a few permits for Target, their online shopping. They're going to start working on. Fire sprinkler permit was issued. Fire alarm permit was issued. I've got a new pool at 930 Juniper. That's pretty much it. Most of the permits, there were 15. They've all been minor permits. Code enforcement, I've got 3 cases pending. One asking for a variance on a fence. That's all I have until the public hearing information.
Hey, Kevin.
Yes.
This is Angie. Are you coming into the office every day, or are you, I can't remember what Brent's email said about you. I'm not sure I've talked about you, but are you coming in every day to the office, and are you still feeling comfortable with that?
Yes, I am an essential part of the building department. So yes, I am coming in every day. Yes, I am comfortable with it. Until I heard we have 1 case on the island, so definitely going to start wearing a mask.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Kevin.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's all I have, Kurt.
Thank you, Kevin. We also have a new person from the public, Jesse Young. Can you identify yourself and address, please?
Yes, hi, this is Jesse Young. I live at 920 Grove.
All right, thank you. All right, nobody from Kima Volunteer Fire Department. Make sure with Christy, you mark that as not here instead of no report. Next one is County Health District, Amy Weber. She is not present. And then next is City Administrator Brent Spear.
Good evening. I imagine that the fire department and the health district are pretty busy with everything that's going on. Information's changing very quickly. I sent out my administrative report tonight just before 5, and at 5 o'clock, or shortly thereafter, the new numbers shot out. So currently in Galveston County, I believe we're at 272 confirmed. There's one, as we spoke about, in Clear Lake Shores. The last numbers I had was 22 hospitalized and one death, but I know that the death count's gone up to 5. We had 3 yesterday and 1 today. So they are releasing a little bit more information about the people who succumbed to this illness, and based on the information from the health district, it appears that most of them have had other health issues. So they're releasing an age range, a sex, and then just whether or not it was other health issue involved. The numbers are changing radically every day. 2 weeks ago at our city council meeting, I had the John Hopkins University coronavirus map up, and it has a global count. And at that time it was 196,000. And as of today, when I updated that, we're at 1.4 million. worldwide confirmed. And as I rolled out through other communication channels, and since maybe I have the public's ear right now, what's important to remember is that those are reported numbers. And in the United States, we do a very good job of reporting. We have a good reporting structure. Other places in the world don't. And just because our numbers rise doesn't mean that we're the worst on the planet necessarily. So take your information, maybe with a spoonful of sugar, and kind of evaluate it. There's plenty of information out there. You kind of have to sift through it. As we spoke about with as far as essential employees, myself, City Secretary Christy Strapp, and building official Kevin Harrell, we come in every day that we're scheduled, along with TK that's up in the office. He's on his side. We're spread out pretty well, and then we have 3 employees that are remotely working a couple days a week, and they come in once a week or twice a week, depending on how their schedule rolls through, and they work that schedule themselves. And so they are in the process of doing that. And, we're trying to keep them engaged. Sometimes it's difficult, and they're used to being kind of sequestered away. So we're still limiting contact even when they come in. One thing that I think everyone should know is that, we have positioned ourselves, if we have to make difficult decisions such as shut down other city facilities such as the pool, we're prepared to do that. If we need to get guidance on that, that's fine. But so far we're monitoring the pool. That's a question that people have. Again, we want to keep that a small group. We want the social distancing to continue. And if we get I can see that there's nobody swimming on a cloudy day, but we get a sunny day and we got 30 people over there, then the decision's probably going to be to close that. And so we'll evaluate that as things come forward. So people just need to remember to kind of play by the rules, and they're not here to take your freedoms. They're here to protect people. As far as today with what happened at Aspen's, I was going out to check a sidewalk on a parking lot, at the Lee parking lot. They had some work that was completed on the punch list last Thursday when I was out of town. And so I went back today. And as I drove around the corner, of course, I saw that there were people standing at the rail at Aspen's. And there's people, at least one person drinking a beer out of a bottle, leaning on the rail. And so I looked at my sidewalk, turned around, went over there, and I said, "Folks, you can't congregate here." And their response was, "We're not congregating. We ordered our food." I said, "Okay, well, that's fine. But, you can't stand over here and keep drinking and hanging out." And they said, "Well, how long do we have?" And I said, "I'll come back and check on you in 10 minutes. So that's where the time limit came from. As it turned out, their food was delivered within a minute of me talking to them. I also explained to them that they've had a lot of questions, obviously, and they were elevated, but they wanted to know specifics. And I said, you can be fined up to $1,000 for violating any of these orders. And then I was introduced to the guy that had the music concert. So I said, "Oh yeah, I was familiar with that." I said, I did get a phone call last night, but I got woke up. It was a little after 9. And he said, "Well, I stopped playing at 8. I said, "Well, I got a phone call a little after 9. So I don't know if he understood that I don't live there and I'm remote, and somebody called me to talk about that. But that's where a lot of this communication problem, I think, lies in trying to figure that out. So no, I'm not trying to threaten people, but they have to understand that these rules are in place for their protection. So, and they're for my protection, and they're for protection of our police department and the general public that we happen to cross paths with. So right now we have one confirmed case in Clear Lake Shores. I don't know if it's on the north side of the bridge or the south side of the bridge, but we do have one confirmed. So we're continuing what we do at City Hall. We're continuing our disinfection and trying to make the best out of a kind of a poor situation. Let's see. On On roads and drainage, we're working on that. Richard Sowery's done a good job. He's identified some areas that need some attention, and I'll start working on that to get quotes to fix some potholes and some areas. So that got that today. We also have the cost estimates for the next paving projects, and one of the things that I would like to talk with roads and drainage about is to move forward with the engineering portion of that quote. It's about $130,000. It includes some other things, but we can get the engineering done, and then we can wait until we've come out of this, the kind of the COVID crisis, to see where finances are to move forward with the other phases of that work. So that's one thing that's going on. The Pools and Parks Committee have been busy. They've developed a plan for the bike rack placement, and the bike racks were purchased by the EDC. Those have been ordered. Big A fans at Jarbo, they've been adjusted and the work's complete. However, I have one button that's not working, so contacted them for replacement. We have a group that wants to play pickleball under that under the pavilion. At least they did before this virus kind of came out of the woodwork. But we pressure washed the concrete, and we washed it as much as we can, but it evidently has a etched surface from something that stained it. So that's about as good as we can get it cleaned up. And as far as the pool goes, the pool management company is having difficulty not only recruiting people, but they usually train them at this time of year in preparation for pool season. And so they right now can't have their groups of employees for training. So they are they're going to be behind the 8 ball. And I've talked to them. Maintenance is continuing at the pool, so that's not an issue. But as far as having lifeguards, we may not have them the complete season. But I told them that was fine, and you know, we'll work through that. So we're working together with them. On Drawer Avenue, that's a connector that will be new construction. That's in conjunction with Galveston County and City Kemah. We're still awaiting, they're still working on the traffic light model at 518, and that's a pretty crucial piece of that. We spoke about that before. Do have a meeting set up where they're going to talk about that. I believe it's next week. I got an invitation for that, and of course we're meeting remotely. But we're working on that, and eventually we will procure or approach Mr. Drawer for the right of way. There is another property owner involved, but it's a minor piece of property to accommodate some of the traffic signal stuff. And the EDC and the city did something here recently. If you haven't heard about it, it's pretty exciting, and it's affected a lot of lives in a positive way. But the Emergency Business and Jobs Retention Program by the EDC was rolled out. That was something that we as a small city were able to do and roll out with a lot of people's input, and we were very responsive to that. That got the attention of many other places around the state. I fielded calls from all over the state, people asking about that program, sending them copies of what we had, and they were amazed at how, number one, how simple it was and how quickly we were able to deliver the goods. So the net result is that 18 businesses in Clear Lake Shores received grants for help with business expenses such as utilities or wages or rent or other costs associated with their business during this difficult time. And hopefully it will help them get through a couple months. We're appreciative that they chose Clear Lake Shores to do business in. And, you know, I think that EDC and the city as a whole is honored to help them out when it's time to support them, and it's a good thing. Lamarck and Texas City rolled out their programs yesterday. So if you find those, with the exception of probably a logo and maybe an extra sentence or two, it's a copy of the Clear Lake Shores grant process. And it's a grant. It's not meant to be a loan where it's repaid. It's given and supposed to be put to work. So they're working on that. We have some things coming up as far as the MD Anderson blood drive in June. That I haven't heard anything, but I'm guessing that potentially could get pushed out, postponed We're not looking that far into the crystal ball right now, but all indications are if people heed the warning to stay at home and do the right thing, that we could be safely out of this predicament and all the anxiousness that comes with it by the beginning of June. So, in watching the news today, take that with a grain of salt. I saw that Hunan, China today, or Wuhan, China, finally lifted their quarantine place. So people were out and about, and they were interviewing people that were going to restaurants for the first time. And so I can see that happening here. When we're finally allowed to go, we're going to probably be going out to eat. Fire marshal's been reviewing plans. We plan to roll out site visits after the stay-at-home passes. With Public Works, we're still keeping up on sanitation of the facilities and grounds. We've changed some of our trash collection as residents should. Everything needs to be bagged. And so if it's recyclable, it needs to be in either a white or clear bag so that they can take that. If it's loose, especially cardboard or something like that that's stacked up next to your garbage can, don't be surprised if it doesn't get picked up. So heed the warning. That's for their protection as well. And you know, at least they're picking up the trash, and so I'm thankful for that. The memorandum of understanding with our city-owned parking lots, I haven't rolled that out yet. There'll be a more appropriate time to get with the businesses following this crisis. So, anyone have any questions?
Hey, Brent, it's Angie. I have a question.
Yes.
So my first one, so we declared the state of disaster or whatever in Clear Lake Shores. Have we done everything that we need to do as far as that's concerned in order to receive any FEMA money or any federal money in case Clear Lake Shores should need it? Is there any other I's or T's to cross?
Currently, right now, we're positioned for that. We're maintaining our time cards, which that's probably our biggest expense. We've received a lot of donations, and I've pushed STAR requests to the state where they supply us with materials that we need. So we've received some N95 masks for our first responders, and we've also received hand sanitizer, which is pretty important in the field. Thank you, Tito's Vodka, and thank you, Galveston Brewing, or wherever that second one came from. We have we have labor costs just in doing business as usual, but we can attribute some of that work to the COVID crisis, and that can be accounted for at the end. We do a really good job with our time cards, and we can go back and take care of that if the need rises. We're also taking any cost that we would generate. We're not generating any overtime costs. Some cities are to address this, and they have the money in the pipeline to do that now. Think that they're going to receive it on the tail end. And so, or they have people that are working in offices, like in law enforcement, you have a lot of detectives, you have people that are working on, they're police officers, but they're doing other office work. So they don't want them all sitting together in that office and working. So they're putting in their cars and they're getting them out on the road. And so they can be seen. And we just don't have that luxury. We're kind of a one-stop shop with that. But we're watching our costs, and we can reconstruct that if need be.
Okay, so I'm understanding that everything is in place in order for us to apply for the FEMA grants, and we are watching our costs and we are accounting properly.
Yes.
And my follow-up question then, again, my concern is for all of our city employees, of course, but in particular our police department and keeping them as safe and sheltered as possible. The city of Seabrook, if I'm not mistaken, they have taken all of their city hall workers and pretty much sent them home, except for a very few skeleton crew. Is that an option for us with I know that we're just rotating our 3 city employees 1 or 2 times a week. Is there a reason that we can't just leave everybody home?
Well, we have essential employees. I'm the emergency management coordinator. TK is the assistant. We need to be there. You have city secretary with Christy, and you have your building official, because essential services such as construction continue during this time. So that's a little over half of our office work staff, the administration side. So we have 3 people that are out working remotely from home, and then they're coming in and touching base. But I think we're pretty much where we're at without sending people home and telling them not to return.
I see our public works folks out almost every day. They're sitting next to each other on the golf cart. Do they need to have PPE as well? I mean,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part.
Our public works, Jorge and Odie, they're sitting next to each other on the golf carts. I see them drive by every morning. Do they need to have the proper PPE on? And are they essential?
And should we have one on one golf cart and one on the other? I mean, that means giving up your city golf cart for them to do what they need to do.
Yeah, they have access to the PPE, and I've seen Jorge using it. I'm sure Odie does too, but they have access to it. I haven't told them that they need to use it. I think that as far as them being essential, yeah, they are pretty essential, because just like the garbage can or the garbage man, if the garbage man stops coming, you notice it pretty quickly. And with our public works people in the field, you'll notice that they're not there too pretty quickly. So they are keeping up. We're getting a lot more activity, and it's amazing to me, with everyone home, how much trash is generated. In my own neighborhood in League City, with everybody staying home, it looks like Christmas trash. It's like two big totes and boxes and all that, and they're trying to bag it all up. They are busy. We can alternate days if it comes to that, and they can also wear masks if they want. But they do have access to it, and I've seen them wear masks.
Okay.
And I have no problem releasing a golf cart to them. We have the public works truck that's out being worked on right now, and they can utilize whatever they have. Nothing's officially signed out to me. I'm not responsible for it. It's available for whoever needs it.
Okay.
And then Brenna, as a follow-up, so again, our 3 employees that are coming in, all of them are essential to all of us. Of course, we value them, but do we need to have them coming in at all? I understand Christy, she's our city secretary, she needs to be here. Do the other folks need to be there with you guys?
Well, I think it's important that they get back into the office just for continuity's sake. But honestly, I don't know how much it gets me into a conundrum. How much work can we offload to them, because we can't send files home with them. And if they're working out of files, those need to stay contained at City Hall. And so they've been working on like transferring their notes for their specific jobs. They've been attending online training, and they've been updating forms. But I don't know, if we send them home, if that is if they're furloughed and they have to work time, or if they're paid throughout that's a question. And if it's a safety issue, I think it's a pretty easy answer. But
okay,
honestly,
well,
kind of like
and then I was just gonna follow up with TK and see how I want everybody out of the building that doesn't need to be in the building. And I was just gonna follow up with the chief and see what he thought about that. And I know you're our emergency management coordinator, Brent. I'm not superseding that. I was just getting chief's opinion on people in the building.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. The court is for what it's worth, the court has been shut down since early on in March. I think we pushed March to April. April's going probably into May or June. I don't know how to answer to what their duties are and what they need to be doing. I know we don't need them in the building, and I know that if it was up to me, I would probably send them home, but I don't know what they're allowed to do, and I don't know enough about their job to answer you as far as what are they doing here.
I want to add, just we with all this stuff is in work, and we've been communicating with TK and Brent, and all the employees are essential, and so not they're all essential, they're all important, and we are always considering sending them home. And so there's a new chart out there that I've got that we can consider and sending them and able to allow them to do work from home. But there is 3 or 4 that are essential, as far as public works, yes, things are very dynamic. Even at work, we've imposed new things, and things are going to change tomorrow. I can tell you from the standpoint of City of Houston and Harris County, where most likely masks are going to be required in the public. So, but I don't know that for sure, but that's what I've been hearing from other meetings that I've had with the federal government on the NASA. So it's very dynamic. I understand everybody's questions about things, but we've got to let Brent, I asked that we let Brent work this. And I think we need to go back and regroup. We don't have all the answers tonight, obviously, and reevaluate. We're constantly doing that every day, and we're comparing to other people and seeing what they're doing too, but also we have to make our decisions at the end of the day. So working at the office, Christy Strop, and you can talk if you want to, but she feels more comfortable coming into the office from what I've heard. And same thing with Andy. And in order to do the business of the building department, that is essential work.
I have
Yeah, go ahead, Jan.
Okay, I'm sorry. So this is along the lines of like emergency management. I don't know anything about it. I know that we have stuff in place for hurricane season, you know, because we face that every year. Is there something specific to what's going on currently that we have to have a city emergency management plan in place now? I just don't know enough about it.
This is all new and growing differently each day, and we're working with it. You know, whether you could govern somebody differently than I would govern somebody as being essential. At the end of the day, it's the city administrator who's deciding who's essential, along with myself. So, you know, and we've gone through and we've rolled that process out with following CDC guidelines and the orders coming from the state, federal government, state, and now the county.
Mm-hmm.
This is Brent speaking again, but yeah, it's a whole new animal. And as I said, for EMCs, they are even our emergency management organization that's down on 646. They haven't, the Office of Emergency Management and the other EMCs in this area have never ever never dealt with this. And so I had questions about extending declarations, and they said, we've never done that before. We do a declaration and it goes out. We don't keep extending them. So this is all new, and it's kind of taken a toll on a lot of people in emergency management and the first responder community, because they're used to dealing with knowing 5 days out something's coming down the road. We know what we got to do. They do it. People leave, they come back, and they recover. And the problem with this is that it is an expanding incident. It doesn't have a real start. It doesn't have a real hit, and it doesn't have a real recovery. And you don't know that until you're through that whole process. So as we flatten that curve, hopefully, that's when we kind of fall into the recovery. But it's something that's totally new to everyone in Galveston County that I'm aware of.
And I have to add to that, Brent, is that, you know, you yourself put down implicitly and yourself that any employee of the city during this time has the right to go stay at home and work. And all they have to do is let us know, and they can stay at home and work. And that's the policy from the federal government, state government, and county.
Kurt and Brent, to follow up with that, if any employee decides that they want to go home and stay at home and work, will the FEMA funding or the federal funding allow us to continue to pay that person while they're at home, their salary? If they're self-quarantining or if they decide to stay at home, how can we assist them by continuing that salary, or do we?
If they're staying at home, they should be working, right? I mean, working from home means you're working. So if you're not working, then we shouldn't be paying them. unless they're sick, of course, and they're self-quarantined. That's a different conversation, I
Well,
think.
what if they're not sick and they're self-quarantining to try to, like, if one cop gets it, or if one cop is self-quarantining and he's trying to save the rest of the force or whatever by self-quarantining, do we continue to pay him or her when they're self-quarantining, or how does that work?
That's different than what you said
Brent,
about choosing.
Brent, hold on, stop. Please stop. Brent.
Yeah, there's specific, with the CARES Act that was rolled out by President Trump, there's specific guidance for that. It provides for 2 weeks, 80 hours of pay at their regular rate if they are under a quarantine order.
Yeah.
It doesn't cover self-quarantine. So if they do test positive and they are told to quarantine and they're under a quarantine order, then there's already a federal law. I don't know how that's going to be paid back to the city, but the city would be required to pay 2 weeks worth of wages to that person. If a member of their family or somebody that they're caring for is under a quarantine order, they don't necessarily haven't tested positive for it, then they are allowed up to 2 weeks, 80 hours again, but at a reduced rate. They don't get 100% of their pay. I believe it's 80% for caring for that family member. That's what it's under. So, I mean, there's as far as applying to get that paid, I have not seen that mechanism. And that was one of the things that I don't know where all this money comes from the federal government. But this is an interesting and really expanding incident in that it's not geographic to the place where the hurricane's hitting or the tornado whipped through town. It's everywhere. It's completely across this nation. So, you know, we're one little city with one case right now, and we would like to have 0, but you know, we're in the middle of this mix now, and you know, you have every major city that's going through the same thing. So I can't answer the repayment, but I can tell you that the CARES Act does address that.
Perfect. That was my question. Thank you very much.
Can I interject one thing real quick? Can you hear me?
Go ahead, TK.
Yes, sir. I do believe that I saw, and I can verify it or try to locate it through the Texas Workforce Commission. If your income is reduced due to this response and due to this incident, you can apply for unemployment benefits, and you don't have to do job searches like you normally would if you were unemployed. I think there's a mechanism in there where if you're sent home or you're unable to work because of being essential or non-essential, however that is determined, then they can apply through the Texas Workforce Commission and recover the difference in their salary and what they're now missing, or they can recover what they're missing, is my point. So I think that's something that they can look at. I don't know where I saw that. I think it was on the news last night, but I'll verify it.
And I'm going to add something as well. If an employee decides that they want to self-quarantine and they're not showing any symptoms and haven't been told to quarantine, and they decide that they do not want to work while they're quarantining, then they have to use sick leave or vacation leave if they want to get paid during that time off, is what I understand.
Yeah, that's the exact same thing we're working on the federal side, even on the contractor side, and the same thing prevails. Even though if you're accepted this mission essential work, or in this case city essential work, then you need to report. But we have to work through ourselves and our human resources department. But if you can go home, we want to give that right to everybody to be able to go home. And there is work that we can give them. There is busy work. There's organizing electronic files. There's tons of things out there that they can advance their own skill sets. They could. I have a whole list of things, and there's stuff that we can. 2 more things real quick. We can recover those costs, and then TK also brought up with the police department that he's he's now recording everything he's doing with the police department because we are in an emergency situation, and all the costs for our police department are recoverable through the same act. Yes, Brandon.
One of the things that I've done, and it was at the very beginning, is if they wanted to use their PTO, either their vacation or their sick leave, I was allowing that, and I was forgiving the you have to have a doctor's excuse for 3 days. So, and that was my response that, you know, if you wanted to use your sick time, that's fine. You don't have to bring in doctor's excuse for anything over 3 days. So I think that, and I think most of our employees, with the exception of someone who's just started, has some time banked. But you know, it is a benefit to them.
Thank you, everybody. Again, I want the unified thing, and I was just trying to understand, and I appreciate the education. Thank you.
No, very, very good discussion. I think we need to start moving forward. Everybody's good at this point. I had one last thing to add to Brent's comments, but the water is supposed to be changed from ammonia treatment to chlorine, so it'll start tasting funny, and it's not COVID-19. Next is public comments. It's being dark in my house and I can't see. At this time, any person with city-related business may speak to the council in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. The city council may not deliberate. Comments from the public should be limited to the maximum of 3 minutes per individual. At this time, I open item number 6 for public comments. Please state your name and address. Again, item number 6, Clear Lake Shores City Council regular meeting. Open item number 6, public comments. Please state your name and address if you'd like to comment at this time. Having none, we'll move to item 7. New business consent agenda. Sorry. Item A through H.
I'd like to approve all items and pull items, except for item C, pull item C.
So I have a motion for all items and pull item C. Do I have a second?
Second.
And made a motion. And Angie second. All in favor? I need hands up, please.
Aye.
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 Mark Thompson, Angie, Christy, Jan, and Amanda. It's unanimous. No nays. Okay, so that's items A through H. Removing item C as passed. Next item is consent agenda item C.
So I have a change, so I'll motion to approve with a change.
A second.
The adjournment time, I believe that was, sorry, I'm going back to my notes, that was a 10 a.m. meeting, and it said we adjourned at 10:17 p.m. So that p.m. just needs to be changed to a.m. Pretty sure we weren't there 12 hours. Love y'all, but yeah. So with that change, that's my motion.
All right, with that change, I have a motion.
And I'll motion to approve that.
Who's that?
Christy Lyons.
Christy Lyons. Okay. All in favor with hands up, please. Aye.
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 Mark, Angie, Christy, Jan. Tina, Jan, I need a hand up.
Hand up.
Amanda up. All right, thank you. Motion passed unanimously. All right. Item number 8, council business. Discussion and possible action may be taken on the following items. Item A, action from public hearing for 922 Elm Road junk vehicle boat Sportcraft White, registration number TX7982EA, abstract, Sir, lots 876, 877 Clear Lake Shores, and inspection of the above referenced property found violations of Clear Lake Shores ordinances, Chapter 78, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 6, Junk Vehicles, Section 78-167, Junked Vehicle as Public Nuisance. Brent Spear, please.
That's a mouthful. Thank you. I'm giving this to Kevin Harrell to discuss. This is a follow-up on a vote that we previously discussed. Kevin?
Okay. Council, if you remember, back in 2018, October the 3rd.
Stand by, I'm gonna mute all and then you'll have to unmute. Yeah, go ahead and unmute now, Kevin.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Mayor and council, if you remember, October 3rd, 2018, council issued an order to have this boat removed. During that removal, there was a problem with the boat, that the motor was grounded and the towing company would not risk damaging the boat, so they opted not to tow the boat away. Recently, the occupants of 922 Elm have relocated the boat, and it is now in a position that it can be removed. So I reissued the violation, and it's now before you.
Has it been 30 days or whatever the requirement is per
Yeah, yes, it has.
So they've had proper notice with certified letter signed?
Yes, both the tenant who's staying at the house and the owner listed according to the police department.
I have something to add. This is
ahead.
Brent. We did receive, I think, the registered mail back from Mr. Vern Johnson, and it was not picked up at the post office. So sometimes we send certified registered letters out with return receipts, and they are not picked up. They refuse to pick them up, or in this case, he can't pick it up.
Brent is correct. The certified letter went out. It was not picked up. We also mail a letter to the address as well through regular mail. That was not accepted either.
And Kevin,
Okay.
in a case like this, we know, yeah, Vern's not here. Is he the owner of the house on record?
He is still the owner of the house on record. The heirs, now granted, I don't know if a will was created or not, but no one has corrected Galveston County records as of yet.
So go ahead, Jan, go ahead.
I just have a question. Is there a way around this as far as just serving? I mean, maybe this is a question for TK. Can we serve them with papers to say, whoever's in the house, here you are, you're served?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be done through the constable's office.
Okay.
That would be a civil service.
Right.
And they would have to be given the paperwork. The judge would have to order that service to be made.
Mm-hmm.
And then they could serve whoever was on the premises.
Right.
And I think you're aware of who's on premises.
I am.
So I think there's one with a diminished capacity.
Right.
With diminished scruples. I don't know if there's anybody that would accept service either.
Yeah.
But once that's done, I think that the same time frame is allowed. I'm not sure as far as the civil side of it goes. I'm not sure what that day is, but if there's no one there that's capable of accepting the service, then it would fall back, I believe, to the previous time that we've already spent on this, which is 2 years now.
Right.
Yeah, a year and a half. So.
I would inform council that Vern Johnson was never the owner of the boat. The boat is actually registered to Carl Farmberg out of Spring, Texas. When we issued the first letter back in September of 2018, he never responded, and Vern did not as well. We sent out a letter to both the address and the owner, and they both came back unanswered.
And that's the requirement of the ordinances.
That is correct.
So is it possible that this Cal Froberg is deceased as well?
It could be possible, but without any verification, I have no idea. We sent it to the address on record provided by the police department.
So how do we proceed, Kevin?
The same as before. Nothing has changed from 2018. We are required to notify the property owner and the vehicle owner. We have done both of those things and no one has responded. Obviously, Vern Johnson is not going to respond. I basically just waiting for you guys to issue an order and I will have it towed this time.
So you said, Kevin, that it's in a position now where it can be towed, whereas previously it was not, right?
Correct. Previously, it was against the fence. The motor itself was lowered and actually was sitting into the ground. Currently now, it is in the middle of the lot. The engine has been lifted to where it's a good 1.5 feet above ground level. So there's no problem with a truck going in and picking it up and taking it away.
I'd like to make a motion to have the junk vehicle 922 Elm towed and removed per the ordinance, junk vehicle as public nuisance.
I second.
Councilman Angie Terrell made the motion. Was that Chrissy Lyons?
Yeah.
Jan.
Or Jan.
Either one.
Both did, so either one.
All right, Chrissy
I have-
Lyons.
I have one more question. Sorry, Kevin, remind us how,
We got a motion right now.
can I ask a question?
No, we have a motion.
Oh, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, let's see. Mark, Christy, Angie, Jan, and Amanda. Motion passes unanimously. All right, moving to item B. Approved split of waterfront lease D-100E and D-100F. D-100E is currently 25 feet and D-100F is currently 25 feet. Split requested is D-100E equals 17.06 feet and D-100F equals 32.94 feet. Brent Spear. You're muted.
I am not anymore. This is Brent speaking. This is a simple yet very confusing waterfront split. They've requested that split and to the fractionalized numbers.
So how does that work with the city as far as charging? Do we just go to 17 feet? Why can't we just go to the 17 feet and 30? I mean,
I would say we would round up over 0.5.
so they'll, from a city standpoint, they'll be charged 17 feet for one and 33 feet for the other.
Yes.
With Christie, does that make sense?
Well, this is what the current leaseholder wanted. There is a copy of the new split, which is what the leaseholder gave to us. And that's how they wanted it split it out. I even talked to Mr. Bragg about it, and he said that's they wanted it split. Because they own, right now, they own both of those.
And that's at the ROW line, right-of-way line, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not the waterfront. For council, just an FYI, your waterfront footage is not on the water. It's at the ROW of the street where it interacts with the water lease. I just had those questions. It's up to council. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know why they wanted such odd numbers, why they couldn't make them even, but maybe that's something that the surveyor told them or something. I don't know.
When you're going through the waterfront, lastly being on the waterfront review board, when you go around, that's something else that you're gonna have to show that their footage. You have to go to the hundredths place.
Correct. I was going to bring that up, that they're out to the hundredths, and the difference between the right of way and the water side is 1/100th of a foot. So maybe
the recommendation council could enact that it go to be rounded to number.
Say that again, Kurt. It could do what?
It's just a recommendation for me would be just to have it rounded to a whole number.
Well, you've got the survey that they just did, which we always refer to the survey. So if we round them, then the survey is going to be off.
Right.
They'll have to get a new survey.
And that they would have to get a new survey.
Oh my God.
It's up to council.
Well, is there any disadvantage to the city? And I mean, it's weird numbers, but is it a disadvantage to the city in any way to approve that, or?
It's just something that we haven't been doing. Everything's always been rounded to the, to the whole number.
No, not necessarily. We've got some that are 21.3.
Yeah. It's just not rounded to the tenths, right? It's rounded, or the hundredths.
And that's going to be another $500 for one of them to have to fork out to get a new survey.
I don't know, if there's no disadvantage to the city.
I mean, when you look at it, it makes sense when you look at the survey and the picture that's with it.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Amanda make a motion, second.
I'll second it.
Second. Go ahead.
All right, we have a motion, second. All in favor with the aye and hand in the air, please.
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
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 Christy Lyons, Jan Bailey, and Amanda Fenwick. Motion passed unanimously. All right. Item number C. Please mute your mic. All right, item number C, approved waterfront transfer of D-100F from James and Susan Bragg to Brad Salta from Maggio.
No, I'm just. I'll make a motion to approve the waterfront transfer from the Braggs to Salter for Maggio. Maggio.
All right, I have a motion from Jan Bailey, second.
I'll second it.
Mark Thompson. Wrote MT.
Mark,
Welcome.
down.
Out of the house. It took video conferencing and he opened the shell.
All the time.
All right.
Trying to
all,
say it, but it wouldn't unmute, so I don't know.
all in favor?
Aye.
Ian. All right. Angie, Christy Lyons, Jan Bailey, Amanda, hand please. Thank you. All right. Closing. Thank you everybody for awesome video conferencing. It's great that we were able to do this. I think it's a leaps and bounds for this city to be able to do this electronically. And it's all because of the city administrator, TK, and the police force, what you're doing, and all the council members, and of course, the city secretary. So thank you very much. And of course, our citizens, thank you for joining us in. Adri, I'll get this put together for you so you can post it tomorrow. And at this time, I will adjourn the meeting with my 2 pound